Hogwarts Legacy is a game I think everyone is excited about. An open-world action RPG set in the Harry Potter universe with modern graphics and all the trappings of a modern AAA title. Hey there friends, it's Codiak here. Welcome back to Legacy Gaming. Today we're taking our first look at Hogwarts Legacy gameplay and breaking down so many incredible things we learned about the game. Are you sitting down? Are you ready for this? Good, because the WB Avalanche team dropped 14 plus minutes of never before seen Hogwarts Legacy footage, a combination of cinematics and gameplay. Holy moly, they laid it all on the table. Now we learned an absolute ton about the game, what's definitely in it, what's possibly in it, and the sheer scope of the entire experience. Now first off, this is a true open world game. Players will be able to explore Hogwarts in its entirety. The team showed off classrooms, common rooms, hallways, secret rooms underneath the castle, bathrooms, the kitchen, all the places we knew existed but never got to experience in the books or movies. As you'd expect, there's a lot to discover at Hogwarts, and we saw and heard about a number of secret puzzles that will give players access to new areas of the castle. The Hogwarts grounds also play a huge part in your adventure, and according to the developers, this is where you'll spend time between classes. The courtyards and outdoor common areas are much more spacious than portrayed in the movies because we're actually going to get to explore them for the first time. We'll also get to experience the world in various seasons. Based on the player's progression, things will look very different, giving the world that extra layer of depth and immersion. Players aren't restricted to the grounds of Hogwarts, and this is where things really start to get interesting. Using a broomstick initially, players will be able to fly around the various parts of the world. This will include small hamlets and villages that feature vendors and side quests, and other more iconic locations such as Hogsmeade. From what we can tell, the world is rather large, and the thought of being able to explore every magical nook and cranny beyond what we know of in the books and films is just incredible. Hogwarts Legacy looks to be a true open-world RPG, and that means the first thing you're going to do is create a character. We got a small taste of the character customization features, which allows you to make a unique male or female avatar with multiple ways to manipulate the face and hair. Once that's behind you, the world opens up, but from everything we can tell, Hogwarts Legacy isn't going to be your traditional RPG. You are at Hogwarts, so the very first thing you'll most likely do is get sorted. Sadly, we didn't learn how this works, but we did see every house common room, which means it's almost guaranteed that every house will be available to the player. Most likely, you'll get to choose which house you want to be in, but you never know. Stranger things have happened in video games. Once you're sorted, you'll take part in classes such as Charms, Potions, Herbology, and Defense Against the Dark Arts, all showcased and named during the gameplay trailer. The devs go on to say that these classes will be where you learn new spells, grow magical plants, and learn to brew potions. It's just a guess, but I'm fairly confident these classes will act as the main quests that provide some semblance of structured progression, helping you unlock essential skills to complete the main story campaign. We didn't actually see this in action, but putting all the pieces together, that is my best guess. We also learned that as a new 5th-year student, you'll have to engage in additional lessons, i.e. quests that will help you catch up to your classmates. Honestly, this is a pretty brilliant way to add in more content that allows players to engage in various parts of the game and possibly tie those events to other things like new spells or talents. Hogwarts Legacy is a single-player RPG, and as such, story is at the center of the entire experience. It's really quite hard to wrap my head around the concept of a modern open-world game set in the Harry Potter universe, but here we are. The entire game takes place in the 1800s, which gives the developers the freedom to create without being confined directly to the books or movies. Characters like Nearly Headless Nick make an appearance, but for the most part, the developers say the cast will be entirely new. Based on everything we learned in the trailer, the main story will follow your character as you work with Professor Fig to investigate a potential goblin uprising. An evil goblin named Ranrock has aligned himself with dark wizards, and they're attempting to harness the power of a strange magic that your character has the ability to tap into. No one really understands this strange magic, including your character, so that clearly will be an evolving story throughout the entire game. We also know of a corruption that's turned some of the magical beasts roaming the world hostile. This may just be a gameplay mechanism, or there could be more story implications here. It's still too early to say. What really sold me on the entire game, at least at this point well ahead of launch, are the gameplay systems. And while a lot of them are traditional in nature, everything feels very unique to the Harry Potter universe. Let's start with the combat, or the spell bat. That's a working title, because honestly, that's going to make or break the experience for a lot of players. It looks like the action is in real time, but there's definitely a bit of give and take. You can tell by watching some of the combat clips in the gameplay that things aren't happening all at once, but without any user interface, it's really hard to break that down any further. We know that there will be dozens of spells in the game, of both the offensive and defensive variety. This will include things like stunning spells, shield charms that allow you to deflect other spells and direct attacks, incinerate spells, levitation spells, finishers, and even some of those unforgivable curses. That's right, the killing curse made an appearance in the trailer, and I'm pretty sure my jaw was on the floor at that point. Needless to say, the action is very much rooted in the dueling style established in the books and movies, with your characters squaring off against all manner of dark wizards and creatures. In fact, we see a number of non-human enemies throughout the trailer, including goblins, giant armored trolls, dragons, and even animated suits of armor. You're not just contending with other spellcasters, you're going toe-to-toe with wizards and all manner of beasts and baddies, and that should make for some dynamic gameplay. We even got a small glimpse into some of the accompanying action systems like stealth and how you can tie that in with special spells to incapacitate enemies. Like I said in the intro, take all the trappings of a modern AAA open world game, and Hogwarts Legacy seems to have it. Now, as you'd expect, combat is powered by a talent system within the game, and while we only got a small taste of the general talent menu, there's definitely character progression tied to experience within Hogwarts Legacy. We saw tabs for the Room of Requirements, Stealth, and Core, as well as 2 additional tabs in the main menu. If it follows traditional RPG systems, quests and combat will award XP, which will grant us levels or talent points which we can use to feed into the various talent categories. Of course, the gameplay extends well beyond combat and talents too. We saw gathering and crafting systems that tap into some of the most iconic elements of Harry Potter lore. Growing plants via your herbology skills will reward you with combat items such as Chinese chomping cabbages, which you can throw at enemies to distract them, and other plants like the mandrake can be used to incapacitate enemies in an area around the player. On the flip side of things, let's talk about potions. This isn't exactly new to the fantasy world, but in true Hogwarts fashion, you'll be required to gather the materials from around the world or buy them from a vendor, and then brew up the potion before you can use it. Of course, these things will have benefits in combat, and while we didn't get the flavor text to go alongside the effect, we did see our player turn to stone and then engage in combat. If you use your imagination, you can only guess as to how many potions and effects there will actually be within the game. Now, all of these things become immensely more interesting with the Room of Requirements, and man, this is about as cool a use for this iconic location as it gets. The room acts as your base within the game, and you can actually customize it with different workstations for potions, herbology, and potentially more, and then automate those various stations. We did see a reagent, moonstones, come into the picture when changing around the workstations, as well as a limitation to how much you can adapt the Room of Requirements, so it'll be interesting to learn more about those systems in the months leading up to the game's launch. On top of that, there's also a menagerie component to the Room of Requirements. You thought a base was cool, well, how about your own magical plot of land where you can build and customize a cottage? Stuff I never imagined would be in the game, and the WB Avalanche team are just like, yep, we've got that too. The menagerie is also, I believe, where magical creatures you rescue out in the world come to recover. Some fantastical beasts are being poached, and you can actually capture them and raise them back at your base, allowing them to rest and recover. We didn't get to see the ultimate goal of this system. It could just be a cool way to collect creatures, but it's still really interesting. While we didn't see it in the same sequence, we also know that crafting new armor, is that what we're calling it? Outfits, robes? I'm not entirely sure, but crafting new gear will be a thing. We saw menus for traits, upgrades, and appearance, which hint at possible variations, or maybe even a transmog system, but it's still too early to say. I wanted to wrap this up by talking about a few other things that were pointed out in the trailer, but really didn't fit into any specific section of this video. Just some awesome things I thought were worth mentioning. The first is companions. While attending Hogwarts, you'll meet other students, befriend them, and eventually be able to take them with you on your adventures. We learned about 3 of them during the trailer. Natsai Onai, a brave witch that loves adventure, Poppy Sweetings, who's got a heart of gold and loves magical creatures, and Sebastian Sallow, a charismatic scamp that likes breaking rules. Each companion will have their own backstory and possibly their own quest lines, because from the looks of the trailer, there are custom cinematics tied to each companion, which leads me to think these are pretty important figures in the world. What their implications on the moment-to-moment gameplay are, well, I'm not entirely sure at this point. For instance, are these companions tied directly to the houses that you're sorted into? There are still so many unknowns when it comes to this feature, but it's one we're excited to learn more about nonetheless. We also got a taste of some classic dungeon diving. The world of Hogwarts Legacy is vast, and that means crypts and catacombs to plunder. Of course, these ancient dwellings are guarded by all manner of magical baddies, but where there are dungeons, there is loot to be had. Amongst the world are also environmental puzzles, which will hide many of the secrets within the game. According to the devs, some of these puzzles might have been created by Merlin himself when he was at Hogwarts, which is kind of a cool way to tie in one of the most iconic wizards into the Harry Potter universe. Finally, a brief glimpse at the menu gives us a taste of some of the other systems lurking just beyond our sight. These tabs include character, inventory, talents, collections, challenges, map, owl post, quests, and settings. I think many of these are self-explanatory, but collections and challenges definitely piqued my interest. Possible systems that provide us with additional ways to gain items or experience within the game. Owl Post is another peculiar one. As a single-player game, you wouldn't expect a social component, so who knows how this will tie into the gameplay. Leave us your thoughts on this in the comment section below. It has been 2 years since we heard from the WB team working on Hogwarts Legacy, and man, they did not pull any punches with this new trailer. So many incredible things to explore in a world many of us have been dreaming of visiting for years now. As always, I want to remind everyone to be cautiously optimistic. Things may look great, but until we go hands-on, let's remember to just keep our hype in check. That being said, good, bad, or otherwise, you know we'll be covering Hogwarts Legacy here on the channel when it arrives during the 2022 holiday season. I mean, Legacy is in the name, and you know we have a sacred obligation to make at least a few videos. In all seriousness, if you are excited about this game, do me a solid and hit that thumbs up and consider subscribing. We'll stay on top of any news, be sure to bring it to you right here on the channel. Of course, if you're looking to talk wizards and witches with other folks around the world excited about the game, you can join us on Discord. We've got a great community of over 20,000 players with a section opening up for Hogwarts Legacy closer to launch, so check out that link below to join today. Finally, if you like everything we're doing here on the channel and you want to support us even more, you can do so by becoming a member. For just a few bucks, you're helping Livid and I achieve our dreams of becoming full-time creators, so check out that link below to learn more. My name is Codiak, and from everyone here at Legacy Gaming, thanks for watching, and play on.